Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, walked into a small, cozy Italian restaurant in a quiet town just outside of New York City. His presence was understated, dressed casually in a hoodie and jeans, with no security entourage in sight. The staff barely recognized him as he quietly asked for a table for one, his manners polite and unassuming. As Barron sat down, the restaurant buzzed with warmth, the clinking of glasses, quiet laughter, and the comforting aroma of fresh pasta and garlic bread. He ordered a simple meal of spaghetti carbonara and a sparkling water. Nobody seemed to notice him at first, allowing him a rare moment of anonymity. However, as he waited for his food, a couple seated at a nearby table began whispering. The whispers turned into murmurs, and soon the staff started glancing nervously at Barron. Word spread quickly. The manager, a middle-aged man with a fiery temper, stormed out of the kitchen, his face flushed with anger. He marched straight to Barron's table, his voice loud enough to silence the entire room. "What are you doing here?" the manager barked. Barron looked up, startled. "I'm just having dinner," he replied calmly. "People like you don't belong here," the manager snapped. "Your family has caused enough trouble. Leave now." The entire restaurant was stunned. Barron, though visibly embarrassed, stood his ground. "I don't understand," he said, his voice steady but laced with confusion. "I've done nothing wrong." The tension in the room was palpable. As whispers spread, customers began pulling out their phones, recording the scene. The restaurant had turned into a stage with Barron as its unwilling star. The confrontation escalated as customers started taking sides. Some diners defended Barron, arguing that he was just a young man trying to enjoy a quiet meal. Others sided with the manager, bringing up their grievances with his family's political legacy. One older woman stood up and pointed at the manager. "This boy hasn't done anything to deserve this treatment," she said firmly. "You're being ridiculous." Another man sitting with his family chimed in angrily. "Do you know who his father is? Why should we feel sorry for him?" Barron remained seated, his expression a mix of shock and composure. He raised his hand slightly, signaling that he didn't want any trouble. "Please," he said, addressing the room, "I just came here for dinner. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be." But the manager wasn't backing down. "I don't care who you are," he spat. "You and your kind aren't welcome here." Just as Barron began to gather his things, a young waitress stepped forward, visibly trembling but determined. "Sir," she said to the manager, "this isn't right. He hasn't done anything wrong." The manager glared at her. "Are you questioning me?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, her voice growing steadier. "Because this isn't how we treat people." The restaurant was now divided. Some diners clapped in support of the waitress, while others rolled their eyes. The tension was unbearable. Barron stood up, his tall frame towering over the manager but his demeanor calm. "Thank you," he said softly to the waitress. "But I think it's better if I leave." As he walked toward the door, the older woman who had defended him earlier called out, "You shouldn't have to leave. This is wrong." Several customers began recording on their phones, capturing Barron's quiet exit. Outside, the evening air was cool, and Barron took a deep breath. He was used to being scrutinized but never expected this level of hostility in such a personal setting. The waitress followed him outside, her cheeks flushed. "I'm so sorry about all of this," she said, her voice cracking. "I didn't think this would happen." "It's not your fault," Barron assured her. "You stood up for what was right. That's all anyone can do." The next morning, the internet was ablaze with the restaurant incident. Short video clips of the confrontation had gone viral on social media. Barron Trump's calm yet bewildered demeanor, juxtaposed with the manager's aggressive behavior, became the subject of endless debates. Some users hailed Barron's composure, labeling him a victim of undue hostility, while others criticized the manager for allowing personal biases to override professionalism. The hashtags #Barron Trump and #RestaurantGate trended for days, dividing the online community. Major news outlets picked up the story, amplifying the uproar. Morning talk shows and primetime debates examined the incident from every angle. Pundits dissected the ethical responsibilities of restaurant managers, with some noting that Barron, as a young adult, should not be held accountable for his family's political history. Others argued that public figures must accept scrutiny as a part of their lives. Meanwhile, the restaurant itself faced severe backlash. Review sites were inundated with one-star ratings as furious commenters lambasted the manager's actions. Protesters gathered outside the restaurant, some holding signs reading, "No discrimination" and "Kindness over hate." The manager attempted to release a statement, claiming his actions were driven by frustration rather than malice. However, his apology fell flat, perceived as insincere by most. Barron, for his part, remained silent. He refrained from interviews, refusing to fan the flames of the controversy. Those close to him noted his quiet resilience, a quality he had developed after years of living under the public's microscope. Instead of addressing the incident, Barron turned his attention toward his education and philanthropic efforts, determined to rise above the chaos. The waitress who had stood up for Barron became an overnight sensation. She was hailed as a hero for challenging her boss, embodying courage in the face of adversity. In interviews, she expressed her regret over the incident, but reiterated her belief that everyone deserved to be treated with dignity. "I wasn't defending a name or a family," she told a news anchor. "I was defending a person." A week after the viral incident, Barron received a small, unassuming envelope in the mail. Inside was a handwritten letter from the waitress who had stood up for him. Her words were humble, yet heartfelt. She apologized again for the manager's behavior, expressing how appalled she was by the way he had treated Barron. More than that, she wrote about her struggles, working double shifts to support her siblings and pursuing her dream of becoming a teacher. Barron read the letter twice. Moved by her honesty, he decided to write back, thanking her for her courage and inviting her to meet for coffee. When they met at a small cafe a few days later, the conversation flowed naturally. The waitress, Emily, was initially nervous but soon opened up about her life. She spoke about her family, her late mother's sacrifices, and how she hoped to make a difference as a teacher. Barron listened intently, sharing snippets of his own life. He told her how much he admired her bravery, noting how difficult it must have been to speak out against her boss. "What you did that night wasn't small," he said. "You stood up for what was right when it wasn't easy. That's rare." By the end of their meeting, Barron had made a decision. He reached out to his mother, Melania Trump, who had a long history of involvement in philanthropic causes. Together, they decided to create a scholarship fund for aspiring teachers like Emily. "She deserves a chance to succeed," Barron told his mother, "and there are so many others like her who just need a little help." Months later, Emily stood nervously on a brightly lit stage at a charity gala hosted by the newly established Trump Education Fund. The room was filled with donors, educators, and community leaders. Emily, now a recipient of the scholarship, was the keynote speaker. Her transformation was evident. She no longer carried the timid air of a struggling waitress, but radiated confidence and determination. She began her speech by recounting the night that had changed her life. "I didn't know who Barron Trump was when I defended him," she said, her voice steady yet emotional. "What I did know was that no one deserves to be treated unfairly. What I didn't realize was that my small act of courage would lead to something so life-changing." As she spoke, Barron sat in the audience alongside his family, smiling quietly. For him, the gala wasn't about publicity or redemption. It was about highlighting the power of kindness and creating opportunities for people like Emily to achieve their dreams. Emily shared how the scholarship had enabled her to enroll in a teaching program, a dream she had nearly given up on. "Sometimes the world can feel like a dark place," she continued, "but all it takes is one light, one person willing to believe in you, to change everything." When the event ended, Emily approached Barron, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "Thank you for everything," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Barron shook his head. "This isn't about me," he replied. "You were the one who stood up that night. You deserve this." Their story, though born out of conflict, became a testament to the enduring power of compassion. It inspired countless others to look beyond differences and extend kindness to those in need, a legacy both Emily and Barron were proud to carry forward.